Okay, welcome everyone. Good Tavach. As we learn now, first of all, celebrating the conclusion of the counting of the mitzvah of Sirius Aimer, which is a big celebration. Also, the last of the Shloshis Me'agbala, as we're getting ready for Kabbalah Satira, and no better way to get ready for Kabbalah Satira than to learn Torah together. With such a wonderful Olam. We are sponsored by A.B. Spry, L'Refuah Shalema for Taiba Reiza Bas Hinda, and for a great zivugim for their daughter and grandchildren. We're sponsored by Shelley Zeitlin for Shimon ben Sarah Miriam, by Shemei ben Esther Fradel, and for his wonderful children, Eli, Orit, and Ora. We also sponsored anonymously for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection for Yeshua Menachem Mendel, Ben Bela, Shendel, Rivka. We are holding at the new Perek, learning to be Mekayim the mitzvah v'dibar tabam, la'asa yisnachas ruach liyitzreinu. Shavuos Daf, that's an oath of testimony, meaning that if let's say Aaron and Mark no testimony, and I demand from them to give testimony, and they swear that they don't know. So if it's found out that they do know, they have to bring a carbon, and the specifics of this is what we're going to learn in this parak. So Shavuos Daf, an oath of testimony about testimony. It's by men, but not by women, because women can't give testimony. Only by strangers and not by relatives, because relatives can't give testimony. By one who is kosher, not one who is pasal edus. If he's a thief, he's pasal edus. So he can't make a Shavuos Daf because he can't give testimony. It could only be for someone that's fit to testify. The Gemara will tell us, for example, a king who doesn't give testimony would not be able to make such a Shavuah. Bifnei bezdin v'shaloi bifnei bezdin, whether in the presence of court or not in the presence of the court, mipi atzmoi u mipi acherim, by his own making of the Shavuah or by others imposing the Shavuah upon them. Ein chayavim ad sheyichbru b'hem bebezdin. They're only chayiv if they deny it in bezdin. If they say that they don't need edus in bezdin, divrei Rameir. That's the opinion of Rameir. V'chachamim oimrim bein b'pi atzmai bein b'pi acherim, whether it's by his own say so or by others. Einon chayavim ad sheyichbru b'hem bebezdin. You're only chayiv if you deny it in bezdin. Top of Daf Lamed Amid Aleph. Again, the Rameir is of the opinion that the Pi Atzmai, by his own testimony, it's both in the presence of the court and not in the presence of the court. But if the oath is administered by others, mashbiach, I impose an oath upon you. That's the opinion of Rameir. The Chacham hold both if it's self-administered or it's imposed by others. Unless they deny it in bezdin. The chayavin al zdoin hashvua. You're chayiv for a willful shvuah, that we'll see, because it doesn't say v'nelam by Shavuos Daf, so you're chayiv even if you swear willfully, falsely. V'al shigigasa im zdaina edus, or even though they knew that they had a testimony, but they were in error, they didn't know that they would be chayiv a carbon. But ve'enon chayavim al shigigasa. But if they were totally unaware, they're not chayiv. We're going to learn that from a pasuk. Or mahein chayavin al zdain hashvua. What are they chayiv for? What's the chayiv? Carbon oilav yared, a sliding scale carbon, which this is an anomaly that they're chayiv even if they did it b'mezid. Now we said it's only by men and not by women, because women cannot give testimony. So the Gemara now says, Minani Mili. How do we know this? The Tan Rabbanan v'yamdu shnei anoshim, and two men stand. Be'edem hakasim medaber. It's talking about witnesses, and it says anoshim, men and not women. Atoim be'edem. You'll say though that's talking about the witnesses. Or maybe it's talking about the litigants, because it says v'amdu shnei anoshim asher bohem hariv, that have the quarrel. So maybe the two anoshim are not referring to the edem. Says the Gemara, Kishu Omer Asher Lohem Hariv. Once it already says that they have the quarrel, that covers the Balidinim. Hari Balidinim Emor. Homani Mekayim va'omdu shnei anoshim, and two men stand up. Ve'edem hakasim medaber. It's talking about the witnesses, and it says anoshim and not women. V'im nafshich loimer, and if you want to whisper a protest, well, we know it's talking about witnesses, because nemer kan shnei, it says here shnei, v'nemer lahalan, and elsewhere it says shnei al pi shnei edim, ma lahalan be'edim, it's talking about witnesses, afkan be'edim. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? Mayim nafshich loimer, what is there for you to whisper and protest? V'chi teima b'deloik siv v'asher lohem ariv. It doesn't say v'amdu shnei anoshim and v'asher lohem hariv. It says v'amdu shnei anoshim asher lohem hariv. That implies that the two anoshim are the ones that have the quarrel. Kulei kra b'balidina mishtay. It's talking about the litigants and not the witnesses. Says Gemara, but we know it also talks about the witnesses, because never kan shnei, it says here shnei, v'lem halan shnei, and it says elsewhere al pi shnei edim, mal halan be'edim, just like over there it's witnesses, afkan be'edim. Let me take a time out to welcome everybody, as our 30th Zoomer just stepped in, as we welcome in Michal and Saba and A.B. Spry, Irving Fishbaum, Menachem Yemansky, Dr. Block, Mel Zachter, Dr. Eisenberg, Dr. Guy, Nachman Chapler, Yitzi Fuchs, Shimon Deer, it's good to see you, Shimon, Yaakov Warman, and Barry Cement, Mark Frankel, it's good to see you, Mark, Aaron Swade, Eddie Chazan, Rabbi Kranz, Shelley Zeitlin, Chaim Lerner, Naftali Jablin, Stephen Holtzman, Abe Arbach, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Yitzi Muller, Richard Rosenzweig, Chaim Braun, it's good to see you, Chaim, David Helfgott. Here in Shul, we have Michal Avram Chavin and Ruvain Shannon holding the fort. Continues, and David Helfgott continues the Gemara. Tanya Idach, we learned in another brayso of Amdu Shnei Anoshim, and the two men stand. Edem hakasim medaber. It's talking about the witnesses, and therefore we learn out men and not women. Atoim be'edem ayin ela b'balidinim, or it's talking about maybe the litigants. Amarta v'chi shnayim bo'en ledin shloisha ein bo'en ledin. Could you have only two people coming to the court? It can't be three. So therefore, it's not talking about the witnesses. It's not talking about the litigants. It's talking about the witnesses. The imnavshich loimer, and if you want to whisper to say, well, we know that Shnei Anoshim refers to witnesses, because Nemer kan Shnei v'Nemer lahalan Shnei. It says here Shnei. It says Al pi Shnei Eidim, Al pi Shnei Eidim, Al lahalan be'Eidim, Afkan be'Eidim. Says the Gemara again. Mayim nafshich loimer. What would you whisper to say? V'chi teima. Well, when it says Shnei Anoshim, even though you could have a party of more litigants, but there's a teveya and a nitva. It means when it says Shnei Anoshim, it means the claimant and the defendant. But, says the Gemara, it's talking about the witnesses, because we have Gzeir Shavan, Nemer kan Shnei, V'lem lahalan Shnei, it says here Shnei, and it says Al pi Shnei Eidim, Ma lahalan be'Eidim, witnesses, Afkan be'Eidim, here too it's witnesses, and it says Anoshim, so we know men and not women. Tanya Yidach, we learned yet in another brayso, V'amdu Shnei Anoshim, the two men stand, it's talking about the witnesses. Maybe it means the litigants. Amarta, what do you mean? Litigants could only be men, litigants can't be women? If it's the litigants, why does it say Anoshim? Do men come to court? Noshim ainba, but then women don't come, so it must be referring to the witnesses. And if you want to whisper a protest, Nemer kan Shnei, it says here Shnei, V'lem lahalan Shnei, it says Al pi Shnei Eidim, Ma lahalan be'Eidim, just like there it's referring to witnesses, Afkan be'Eidim. My im nafshich loimer, what does it mean if you whisper to protest? The chitema, you'll say, no, when it says it's the litigants. Why men? Women don't go to court. It's not modest for a woman to go to court. If they needed to go, they would send a agent. The it's the honor of a royal daughter and Klal Yisrael's royalty, Mamlechas Kohanim, to be inside. It's not her way to be in the public eye like that. Nemer kan shnei, but still shnei anashim means the witnesses, because it says here shnei, nemer lahalan shnei, and it says al pi shnei edim, alahalan be'edim, afkan be'edim. Tan Rabbana. V'amdu shnei ha'anashim, the two men stand, mitzvah lebalei dinim shiamdu. Now, even though we said that amdu shnei anashim refers to the witnesses, but the pasuk continues also asher lohem hariv, which is the litigants, and we learn out mitzvah lebalei dinim shiamdu. It's proper for the litigants to stand and present their case to the court. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Shamati, I have heard that if the dayanim want to seat both of them, if the dayanim want to seat both of them, moishiven. The only thing you can't do is have one stand and one sit. Also, what's forbidden? You can't have one of the litigants stand and one of the litigants sit. One is given the license to speak as long as he wants. The other one is rushed to speak quickly. That is not allowed. You have to give them equal fair treatment. Tan Rabbanan, we actually learned this out from a pasuk, but tzedek tishbod amisecha. You should judge in a righteous way. You can't have one of the litigants sitting and one of them made to stand. One is given the right to speak as long as he wants, and one is told, hurry up. Can't do that. You should judge your friend righteously. We have a mitzvah to judge people favorably. You see something, you're not sure what it means, somebody comes late, so you'll judge him favorably. He came late because he had something very important. Somebody came to the door, needed tzedakah, right? It wasn't that just that he got stuck on a piece of bubble gum. Says the Gemara, Tani Rav Yosef, b'tzedek tishbod amisecha, you should righteously judge amisecha, one that is with you. If there's somebody with you in Torah mitzvahs, in other words, he's a Torah scholar, you should judge him well, which means, not, of course, it doesn't mean to favor him, but it means that you should take care of his case first. Rav Ula Breder Rav Eloi, Havaladine Kamed Rav Nachman. Rav Ula, the son of Rav Eloi, had a court case before Rav Nachman. Sholach le Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef sent a message to Rav Nachman, Ula Chavrenu, Ula, our colleague, is coming before you. You should know, Omis b'Torah b'mitzvahs. He's one of us in Torah mitzvahs. So Rav Nachman wondered, L'may sholach li? Why did he send me this message? It can't be l'chanufalei. It can't be that he wanted to flatter him, that I should favor him in judgment. That can't be. Hadar Amar, it must be either Lemishra B'Tigrei. It must be that I should take care of his case first, because he's a Talmid Chacham. Inami L'Shuda D'Daini, that if there's a case where the verdict is dependent on the discretion of the judges, so he wanted to let me that he's a Talmid Chacham and an Oisik B'Mitzvahs. Amar Ula, Machlokes B'Balei Din, whether you could let both litigants sit down is Machlokes only with the litigants. Aval Be'edim, but the witnesses, Divrei HaKol B'Amida, everybody agrees that the witnesses have to stand. D'chsiv Omdu Shnei Anashim, they have to stand. Amar Rafuna, Machlokes B'Shas Ma'aser Matan, the Machlokes whether the litigants could sit is only during the give and take. Aval B'Shas Gmar Din, but at the time of the verdict, divrei hakol dayanim b'yeshiva, the judges have to sit. O balidinim ba'amida, the litigants have to stand. Vayeshev Moshe lishpait es ha'am, Moshe sat to judge the people. Vayamay ha'am, and the people stood. Lish nachrida, machlokes b'shas ma'aser matan. Machlokes is only during the give and take. Aval b'shas gmar din, but at the time of the verdict, divrei hakol dayanim b'yeshiva, the dayanim sit, ubalidinim ba'amida, and the litigants stand. Da'edim, because when the witnesses give testimony, that's the finishing of their part. That's gmar din damu. That's like their completion. That they have to stand. Now the Gemara tells us, we know that much covet is due to an Ashes cover. As we welcome in Danny Vogel, it's good to have you back, Danny. You were missed. An Ashes cover is kechaver. I remember vividly that I was at that time in 10th grade. It was in the summer, and we were being taught by Rabbi Rosenberg, Zichronu Livracha. And it was a big picture window in the shir, and we saw Rebbetzin Feinstein, the Alter Rebbetzin Feinstein, Ramoshe's Rebbetzin, walking outside. And as soon as our Rebbe saw her, he immediately stood up. And we all stood up, and we didn't sit down until she passed from our view. That's the way it is. An Ashes chaver, kechaver. A wife of a chaver is kechaver. Now, one of the Gedolei Hadar at the time was Rav Huna. And his Rebbetzin had a court case before Rav Nachman. And this posed for Rav Nachman a dilemma, as the Gemara tells us. The Biseya de Rav Huna, the wife of Rav Huna, Havalei Dina Kami de Rav Nachman. She had a case before Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman had a dilemma. He mused, what should I do? If I stand up from her, as she is deserving, misatatman tanase de baldina, I will silence the other litigant, because the other litigant would be cowed when he sees the judge standing up with the opponent. Lo not to stand up for her. Eishes Chaveri, she's the wife of the Gadol Hadar, and Eishes Chaver Hari Kechaver. How could I not stand up for her? So Amalei L'Shama, he used the following ploy, the following strategy. Amalei L'Shama, he told his Shamish, say ve'efrach alai bar abza, cause a goose to fly, v'shadi yilvai, and cast it in my direction. And I will stand up to get out of the way, and that way I'll be standing up for her. V'okim. Says Gemara, but what's he going to do when he has to pronounce the verdict? And the argument is only during the deliberation. But at the time of the verdict, the Dayanim have to sit, and the Baldin has to stand. How is he going to sit when the Rebbetzin is standing? It's not covered. Says the Gemara, the Yosef commander Shari Misane, he sat and made it look like he was tying his shoe. And while he was doing that, so-and-so is innocent, so-and-so is guilty. There's another shot over here that he didn't sit actually, but he bent over like one who was tying his shoe, but he didn't sit in our presence. Amar Rabba Barafuna. If a Talmudic scholar, a young Talmudic scholar, and an ignoramus has a court case, we, as is his honor, we tell the Talmudic scholar to sit, but in order that it should be even-handed, we also tell the ignoramus to sit too. If the ignoramus decides to stand, but we don't have to worry. Rabbi Shravya Havaledina Kamid Rapapa. Rabbi Shravya, who was a Talmudic scholar, had a court case before Rapapa with an Amoritz. oisvei, or a regular person. Oisvei, so Rav Papa told Rav Bar Shravya to sit, and he told the Amoritz also to sit. As we said, it has to be even-handed. Also, Shlicha de Beidin, a messenger of the court came, saw the Amoritz sitting, Batash Bey, he gave a kick to him, V'ukmei la'Amoritz, and made the Amoritz stand, V'lo yamalei Rav Papa tiv, and Rav Papa didn't say a second time, sit. So the Gemara wonders, hey, how did he do that? It will cow the Amoritz. Rav Papa said, no. Since I told him to sit, it was the Shliach Bezdin that told him to stand. Meima Amar Iu ha'asvan. The Dayan said I should sit. Shlichu d'loi mefayis minai. It's just the agent who doesn't like me. But I don't have to worry about the agent. It's the main thing that the judge is even-handed. V'amar Rabba bar Afuna, Hai tzurbim rabbanan v'amaretz dislu dina b'hadi adadi. A Talmudic scholar in Amoritz that has a case, Loi liktim tzurbim rabbanan v'leisev, the judge shouldn't sit the Talmud Chacham down earlier in the case. Mishum demichzei commanded sadolei ladine. It looks like they talked the case before the other litigant comes. But that's only if this Talmudic scholar did not have a learning seder, a learning session with the judge. But if he has a learning session with the judge, then there's no concern. Because the other litigant will just say, but Torah, they're just learning their Torah. This is a very big chiddush. I should tell you this law elsewhere. The law is that if a Talmud Chacham is walking on 13th Avenue and he finds a neon hula hoop with bells, the din is, if it's not dignified for this Talmud Chacham to walk in the street with a neon hula hoop with bells on it, then he doesn't have to pick it up. Because the Torah says that v'salamta, there are times that you could hide from a mitzvah, from a lost article, if it's not dignified for you to pick it up. So just like that's true, if a big Talmud Chacham knows testimony about a monetary case, and it's not dignified for him to be in court, he doesn't have to come and give testimony. It's a very big chiddush. Let's see it inside. V'amar Rabba bar Afuna. No. V'amar Rabba bar Afuna. Haitzum Rabbanan di Yoda b'sadusa. If there's a Talmudic scholar that knows testimony, but bezila bei milsa lemeza lebeidina, it's beneath his dignity to come to a court, the zuter minei, where everyone there is lower than his status, la sude kamei, to give testimony, loy lezel, he doesn't have to go to demean himself. We learned likewise by Hashavos Aveda, although it's a mitzvah to return a lost article, matzah sak or kupa, if he found a sack or a basket, and it's not his way to walk in the street with a sack or a basket, harizelo yita, he doesn't have to take it. However, the Gemara modifies this. That's only if it's a matter of money. Aval b'yisura, let's say he knows that a woman is forbidden to marry a certain man, he has information that she's forbidden, then he has to appear in court. Because there's no wisdom, no understanding, no cancel when it's something against Hashem. If there's a question of a chilul Hashem, like a woman marrying somebody that she shouldn't be marrying, ein chokin kavod l'rav. We don't worry about the kavod to the sage. Now here's an interesting thing. Rav Yemer was a great man. Rav Yemer have a yodolei sadusa l'mar zutra. Rav Yemer knew testimony on behalf of Mar Zutra. The thing is, it's not bakovedik to make Rav Yemer stand and give the testimony. Also, the Kamid Amemer, they came before Amemer. Osvinu lekulu. Amemer sat them down. Amalei Rav Ashi la'Amemer. So Rav Ashi said to Amemer, how could you sit him down when he's giving testimony? Va'amar ula machlokes b'balei dinim. There's only an argument about the litigants. Aval be'edim, the witnesses, divrei hakol ba'amidah. It says in the pasuk, va'amdu shnei anashim. Amalei, he says, you're right. Hayaseh, it's a mitzvah say that the edim should stand. V'hayaseh, but there's also a mitzvah say of kavod HaTorah. Aseh, the kavod Torah, the mitzvah of kavod HaTorah. It's amazing that we're learning this during the Shloshis Me'Hagbalah right before Shavuos. The mitzvah of giving to the honor to Torah is greater. Now, 5 lines from the bottom of Daf Lamed Amud Beis, just getting underway on this beautiful Motzi Shabbos Erev Shavuos. And if you're in the Lakewood area and you're within walking distance, I'll be saying shir the entire night tomorrow. Yetz Hashem, come and join us. 12:15 is the beginning of the learning, going till Shachris at 4:45. So we'd love to have you. Okay, Mark says he's coming. Good. Shelley, I think you've been by me a Shavuos night. Were you ever by me a Shavuos night?
Yes.
You have been by me a Shavuos night.
Yes, in Staten Island.
In Staten Island, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I didn't get the article from you.
Working on it now, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
I'm multitasking.
Because they wanted it, so.
Yes. No.
I never heard of such a thing, doing an article during the shir. I don't know. Have to shoot BBs at him.
I've done it in the airport.
Airport, Shmirport. Now, Tan Rabbanan. Minayin l'dayin shelo yases sanigron l'dvorov. Here's a dayin that he made a ruling, but somebody offered some very strong protests. He shouldn't try to make defenses, even good defenses, in order not to reverse his decision. Talmud Leimer, you have to be very careful. Midvar sheker tirchak. Distance yourself from falsehood. The negias of being shown up wrong is a big negias. How do we know that a dayan, the custom was that when they judged, they put Talmidim in front of them. The Talmidim were there in case they noticed a discrepancy or they had a question, they would chime in. How do you know that a dayan shouldn't put an ignorant Talmud before him so that he shouldn't be shown up? Talmud Leimer midvar sheker tirchak. Distance yourself from falsehood. Midayin l'dayin sheyodeh lechaveru shu gazlan. How do we know if a dayan knows that a dayan sits with 2 other judges? How do you know if he knows one of the judges is a crook? Or v'chein eid sheyodeh b'chaveru shu gazlan, or a witness that knows that the other witness is a thief? How do you know that even though he's doing just and he's telling correct testimony, that he should refuse to pair up with this person? Distance yourself from falsehood. Let's say the judge knows that this is a miscarriage of justice, but he has 2 witnesses giving testimony. Since I have 2 witnesses, I will make the decision, and I feel in my gut that this is a miscarriage of justice. Well, the collar is going to be around the witnesses. They'll burn in heaven, in hell. Says, well, no, if you have in your gut that it's no good, then you have to grill the witnesses more and more. Distance yourself from falsehood. We'll just pause a moment to turn over the channel over here.